are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Happy Fiesta for those living in San Antonio or those coming in to partake. But what are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at the Spurs in the play-in game versus Pelicans. We'll start slowly but surely looking into this matchup. But today we'll just be focusing on what do the Spurs need to do to clean up ahead of that game. Yes, there's a few more games left on the reg season, but yeah, it's time to start turning your attention to that big game looming. To that, I am joined by my colleague at Ken's 5 San Antonio. He is Tom Petrini, the hooded Tom Petrini. Tom, you look like a Smurf. I know we're not on video, but you look like
it's just a little chilly out here. But dude, you weren't kidding. That intro bangs. That was dope.
You like that?
I'm
huh?
excited. I'm ready to go. Let's get it.
Yeah,
I feel all high energy now. Usually you're so boring. I'm kidding.
This is part of the move to the YouTube. So they give us these little fancy graphics we got to play for the YouTube audience. But by the way, people did get a small glimpse of you in your hood. There's like a little delay before that video starts playing.
They got a peek.
They got a peek. You got a peek.
Right.
So rewind it and maybe get a
I'm cozy. I'm cozy is all it is. I love working in sweatpants.
What is that, like a earthy, cloudy? Oh no, it's tie-dye. My bad.
Yeah,
tie-dye. Oh, okay. You know what I thought it was? A sky. Like sky with clouds.
It was one of those things where where you take a trip to somewhere warm, but you forget that it also gets cold in places that are warm, So I was in California with only t-shirts. But yeah, $15 at Marshall's, it served me well. All about
I gotta go to Marshall's more often.
This is prime cozy time, dude.
All right.
We're right in it here in Texas. And Fiesta, man, I'm excited. I got to get out to some Fiesta events. But there's a little Spurs Fiesta going on, man.
Yes, there is.
I don't know if anybody went honking when the Lakers lost, but
mentally I did.
It sure felt like it, And however you feel about draft picks, don't let anybody tell you that beating this Lakers team to the play-in with this Spurs team doesn't mean anything. That's something.
I love it.
And
I love it.
It's not just that the Lakers broke down on the side of the road. The Spurs had to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. Spurs are 10-5 in their last 15 games since beating the Lakers to tie Coach Pop with Don Nelson for the most wins by a coach in NBA history. 8-2 in their last 10, 7-1 in their last 8.
Sure.
Not all cupcakes on the schedule like Portland and Houston. They've beaten the Jazz. They've beaten the Warriors. Denver.
Yep.
New Orleans, who they're going to face in the play-in game.
Yeah.
They're playing their best basketball right now. And this is a team where all year we've said they're better than their record. They play hard. They play up to competition. And when they're playing their best basketball, they can compete with just about anybody on any given night.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I would predict that they'd win a 7-game series against the Suns, but they're at a point right now where if they were just kind of like middling and it was one of those situations where the Lakers just completely blew it and the Spurs basically had no choice to get into the play-in, then I would be more inclined to say, okay, they're going to get into this play-in. They're hopefully not going to blow their lottery pick and lose lose at least one of these play-in games so that they get like, a 20% chance at the top 4 pick. Now the way the team is playing, it's like, whatever the universe decides, whatever they're able to do, however it shakes out, it's going to be hard to write something sad about it, there's going to be pros and cons to whatever happens. But for where this team started the year, their expectations, I think they've met a lot of reasonable expectations, and I think they're exceeding some of those expectations in certain areas with certain players making leaps, not just like made a leap this season, and who's going to make the leap next season? There are guys making the leap in
right now.
March and April.
Yeah.
Keldon Johnson's been spectacular. He's
Yeah.
got, 7
Can I
games in a row.
ask you something about KJ though? Okay,
Yeah.
so a few, I'm gonna guess about a monthish ago, I had our colleague at Ken's Five, Casey Vieira, on, and we're talking about KJ, and that's right when he started hitting his stride. I mean, at the beginning, the threes were falling down, little by little, you're seeing that improvement set in.
Right.
Was this really a hot take that I said? I don't think it was. And Casey just was vehemently just disagreeing with me. I said that Keldon, given a full season, and like maybe next season, could average at minimum 20 points per game. And we're seeing that now.
Yeah.
He almost fell out of his seat. He was like, I lost my mind. And I said, if you looked at his average at that time, it was just about 16, again, before he hit the stride. I said, it's just 4 more points,
Yeah.
Do you think he can? Do you think he can average about 20 for an entire season?
Here's Keldon Johnson in his last 7 games where he scored 20 plus points. Youngest Spur to do that since Tim Duncan. 23 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game. Turnovers are down.
Yeah.
Almost 50% field goals on 16 attempts per game. 41% from 3 on almost 8 3-point attempts per game. And 81% from the free throw line at almost 5 free throw attempts per game.
Yeah.
He's become so dangerous from the 3-point arc that it's really unlocked the full potential of his driving capability.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And every day he seems to add a little bit more variation to what he's doing on those drives. So we've seen him really grow and blossom this year. He's the second leading scorer on this team. He's a really key piece. I don't think there's any doubt that he can average 20 a game next year.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm watching is how can he continue to improve on defense, both individually and in the team concept.
Yeah. And there's other aspects of his 3-shot. I would like for him to create his own 3-shot. I think that is lacking right now. He's great at the catch and shoot 3, corner 3s, all this stuff. He's good, but I would love to him start pulling up on his own, knocking down those 3s.
We've seen a little more shot creation, I think, with DeJounte out these past couple of games, though Tre Jones has filled in really, really well at starting point guard here. He's even hitting a couple of 3s, and not just like catch and shoot 3s. I mean, Keldon, he's going to be on the wing. Most of the time he's on the court, he's going to be sharing the court with DeJounte Murray and like spacing the floor. And so just his role, I agree. I would love to see more development from him there, but I don't think that's something that he like needs. Tre Jones, I feel the same way about, I don't think he needs to be taking pull-up 3s. I think he just needs to get comfortable enough to hit corner 3s off the catch. But we've seen him against the Blazers. He got a switch on Drew Eubanks, crossed over, stepped into a 3-point shot and swished it from the top. And I was like, whoa. And then another pick and roll, another switch on Drew Eubanks, another, step into a 3-point shot from the top, and he drains it. And I'm like, whoa. Okay.
Here.
And he's 2 of 5 in the last 3 games from 3. Those are his 2 makes. But like he tried another one of those on a switch. He's really, really good inside the arc. His float game is immaculate. His mid-range shot is very good. His free throw percentage is very solid. Although there are sometimes like I remember looking at all of the Spurs team stats and being like, oh, he's one of their better free throw shooters. And as soon as I noticed that, he missed both a couple of times, and it was like, oh, okay, but he's really good. In the last 3 games, 26 assists, 0 turnovers.
Love that.
That's awesome. And it's really cool to see. Like, I know they played Portland twice, right? But without DeJounte Murray, without their all-star, this team that, nobody had really high expectations for coming into the season, has started playing some of their best basketball, like really and truly. And the thing about playing a team like Portland is like, that's a tune-up against a pro team, you know? Like if it came out that like, like pulling DeJounte Murray from that game in no way inhibited the Spurs' ability to win either of those contests, right?
You're right.
And you know, when you have those guys together and they're just gelling, like we're seeing guys now, it's not just Keldon, it's everybody. It's Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker before he, was out for a stretch with back spasms.
Yeah.
He's sort of getting back right still. But all of these guys having slightly more opportunity and a lot more comfort level than in the beginning of the season when they were still figuring a lot of this stuff out. And they're running the same things. They're playing the same way. They're valuing the same shots. It's still mostly, high pick and roll, and spread the floor and, 0.5 and, move the ball around and get a good shot.
Yeah.
Um,
But what I like about this too is that they're playing so well without their all-star guard.
Yeah.
They're getting it done with their all-star guard. And speaking of Trey Jones, you spoke about it to start the show about the draft picks and everything. Don't forget he was a second-round draft pick. So the Spurs do pretty well at finding talent most of the time in the NBA draft. We're talking with Tom Petrini. He is with Ken's 5, and follow him on Twitter at the real Tom Petrini.
A lot of fakes out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of fakes out there. Yeah, and who also believes that Batman doesn't use guns, his weapons do, i.e., his car. But
yeah, I honestly had never seen that clip before, dude. And
yeah, he was BVS Batmobile was just murking everybody inside.
I know he's got a rule about that, but that's a Lamborghini tank with a machine gun in it, bro. That's different.
That's actually different. But what is never going to be different is where to find your number one source for all your betting needs. And I'm talking about betonline.net. Yeah, like I said, it's your number one source for everything you need, from betting to sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, including this week's Master Championships, podcasts, reviews, all different this season. Yeah, they even put out the betting odds for Becky Hammon becoming the next Lakers coach. By the way, it's at 50-1. But yeah, BetOnline does it all for you. It's your continuous source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. I'm a big fan of the NBA 2K League. You can definitely find that and more in their esports section at BetOnline. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device. You got one in your pocket, in your jacket pocket, whatever. Log on to betonline.net. Learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Once again, we're with Tom Petrini right here, and we're about to look at the Spurs and the Pelicans start little by little getting ready for that game. I guess, we're looking at the Spurs team. You want them on the right foot. They are playing on the right foot, Tom. But what are some things that you want to see cleaned up before that playing game?
I think, honestly, before the play-in game, I just want to see, full focus on development. If DeJounte Murray doesn't come back until, maybe that last game just to get some conditioning in, I don't think it would be the worst thing for this team. I don't think it would be the worst thing for this team if they lost all of their remaining regular season games. In fact, I know it would be better for their lottery odds, and it would not impact that they're playing in the play-in game. There is a chance, slim, that the Spurs would pass the Pelicans for the 9 seed and host the 9-10 game. It's an outside chance. It's a much more likely chance that the Spurs would lose these next 3 games and finish with fewer wins than both the Wizards and Knicks, who have 35 each. Those teams play each other again, so one of them will have 36 wins. But neither of those two have any incentive to win any more games. So basically, my view is that the Spurs can really only hurt their lottery odds by winning games, regular season games at this point.
Hmm.
So I would say continue to focus on development and clean up those lottery odds.
Yeah.
Which we've been tracking those on Ken's Five for the last month or so. It's been really interesting to see the movement and how one impacts the other in terms of the play-in versus the lottery. But basically, if the Spurs win both of the play-in games, they will forfeit their lottery pick. If the
Oh.
Spurs lose one of those play-in games,
Hmm.
they will be, you know, their lottery position will be
Right.
based on record.
Right.
And so, um, you know, whatever happens here toward the end, it's going to be hard for the Spurs to go wrong. But in terms of the basketball play, I mean, just continuing to move the ball, play the way they're playing the defense. Um, Defense has been better, but I mean, it's still
Hmm.
um, it's not consistent. They're getting buckets.
Yeah.
I don't think we
Yeah,
expected
offensively, they're fine. I think they're okay offensively.
I don't think we expected that going into the season. I think we kind of thought they would be more capable on the defensive end of the floor and struggle to get buckets. That hasn't been what happened here. It's a get buckets league now, and the Spurs are getting buckets. They're giving up a lot of buckets too. So always looking to tighten up the defensive end of the floor. I also you know I want to see a lot of Josh Richardson um,
Oh yeah.
in however many games he's in a Spurs jersey for. Um, Whatever happens with Josh Richardson, like whatever happens with this Spurs season, is going to be good. Because like say the Spurs trip into the 8 seed, right? They beat the Pelicans and then they beat the Timberwolves or the Clippers, and it's like, whoa, okay, they're the 8 seed, no more lottery pick.
Hmm.
Uh, Playing against the Phoenix Suns. I think Josh Richardson is going to play like 30 minutes a game in that series if it happens. And I think he's going to be very good. I think he's going to stand out. He's having a standout season anyway. He's going to be an asset anyway. And if the Spurs are going to be active this summer, which they are, it's not just draft picks that are important, right? There are other assets on the team that, maybe don't fit with the long-term plans, like Thad Young,
Hmm.
um, who, great veteran. I, I talked to somebody who was very familiar with Thad Young, and he said, "I don't think any team couldn't use Thad Young on their team and in their locker room." And I feel the same way about Josh Richardson. He's a
Hmm.
great player. 30 teams would be better with Josh Richardson on
You're right.
them.
Yeah, and you had the fact too that he already came into San Antonio with some idea, concept of the Spurs system, playing
Yeah,
with Ime and Will Hardy. I caught up with him in Chicago and I asked him that. I go, hey, like any familiarity? He said right away that he and Romeo just looked at each other and said, hey, you know what? This is familiar. We've
yep.
been here before. We've done this, and that's why he's been able to fit in so seamlessly so far with the Spurs colors on him. But I'm looking at this team too, Tom, and one thing I want to see is stop with laying off the gas pedal. We
Mm,
saw that versus Denver. The Spurs had a 21-point lead on the Nuggets, and that whittled down to 6. Um, that's still been an issue this season. It still continues to be an issue, and this young team can't afford that in a playing game situation. And Tom, even if they did, let's just say they were to take their foot off the gas pedal, huge learning lesson for them too. I mean, no matter how you look at this playing game, whether they get trounced, whether they win, whether they have their moments where they take their foot off the gas pedal, or what have you, it's you got to look at the whole game itself, and it's going to be a good thing for them. So, heading into this thing again, I want to see them clean up their mindset a little bit more, play with the game as if they want to break the back, a la Bane on Batman kind of style, just break them, whoever they face. I mean, the Pelicans, that is, and yeah, and they got to I just need to see that cleaned up. I think you hit the nail on the head. Defensively, yeah, they still need some work on that end. But I don't really worry about them offensively. And just maturity wise, I think that's where sometimes I get a little nervous with this team. Are they mature enough to maintain that level of play they need in a game that they're about to see in a few days, Tom?
So I'm gonna fight you a little bit on taking the foot off the gas against Denver because
Okay.
I don't know that that's what happened. The Spurs didn't shoot great in the third quarter, obviously, but I mean, sometimes the other car is just real fast. That's an
Well,
MVP right
we saw
there.
even Keldon get flustered. I think that was the most
Yeah,
frustrated Keldon I've ever seen. Again, staying in the mindset. Don't let it get to you. Don't let the refs get to you. Keldon showed Pop had to. Wasn't Pop kind of hugging him, telling him to calm down a bit, like
I
escorting
didn't
him across.
I didn't
Yeah,
see that. I know it had to
that's
be frustrating. I know it had to be
yeah.
frustrating to see that lead get whittled down. But when it got to within like, okay, wow, it's a 2 possession game here. You know, they put the hammer all the way down.
Yeah.
And not just that. I think going fast is not just about the gas pedal, right? It's about maneuvering the vehicle at a high rate of speed calmly through all of the obstacles in your way. And that's what the Spurs have really struggled with.
Mhm.
They've been maybe sometimes too much gas, and not enough brakes and wheel, right? And you know, kids driving fast, like there's going to be mistakes, you know. I think the thing that has impressed me most down the stretch here is that they're getting a lot smoother with it. They're, you know, it's the car's not jerking around as much.
Mhm.
There's a little less worry that they're gonna put it in a wall or something. And like I just beginning of the season, right? When we looked at this team, we looked at the schedule, we looked at the context of what they had lost and that this was going to be a completely different structure for what they were going to do. We knew it would take time for them to gel. Um, so yeah, I think we're really seeing that offensively. And with DeJounte out defensively, it's been tough. But Trey Jones, in addition to being a really solid point guard,
Mhm.
really solid defensive player.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the Spurs, really got a good pick with him in the second round of the draft there. Um, he's the Spurs have two versions of like, you know, their draft picks, right? That are steals. It's like either how did that guy fall to them, or some guy that you've never heard of that they develop
Yeah. They
into a
discovered.
star.
Yeah.
Um, so he I think falls into sort of the first category of like, he was ACC Defensive Player of the Year, I think, like, or Player of the Year, before he got drafted. Like, really, like, was a go-to guy for Duke, like for Coach K. Like, comes from a basketball family. He and his brother, I think, are leading the NBA in assist to turnover ratio, which
Mhm.
is very cool. Um, and he's another guy who, when I watched him play in summer league, I think you were at the game too, where he had like 30 some in the game winner,
Mhm.
just really really solid. And it was like in the right situation he could be very very good. Um, and I'm not sure what that right situation is for him in San Antonio because like when DeJounte comes back, Trey Jones, like you don't want those two to share the floor together really unless Trey Jones spends all summer in the gym
Mhm.
working on that 3-point shot. He's best suited with the ball in his hands distributing so that his lack of 3-point shooting isn't necessarily as big a detractor. Because inside, DeMar DeRozan, DeJounte Murray, those guys have shown, although DeJounte's been super hot from three recently and more willing to take those shots, but those guys have shown that you can do a lot by pressuring the rim and getting shots inside the 3-point arc that, you're pressuring the rim, but maybe not necessarily getting there. Uh,
Mhm.
Mark Schindler said that about Emmanuel Quickly this week. And I think that's a really good way to talk about what Trey Jones does, because he's really not getting all the way there most of the time. His floater's great. He's pulling up from like 10, 15 feet, and crafty inside. He'll take it all the way to the rack in transition, but he's a distributor at heart. He's a really solid all around player. So, the more opportunity he gets down the stretch here to continue to build chemistry with these guys and show what he's got, the better that is for him and the Spurs. So,
Yeah.
and really for all of these guys, like, where I would love to see him make any sort of noise in their first nationally televised game of the year, because I don't think that their game against the Warriors, which got flexed to national TV because it was like, oh, this might be important for the Lakers, I think, and now it's not important for the Lakers anymore. So I don't know if that game's going to be on TV.
Yeah. I look at the Spurs team, Tom, and although I wouldn't say clean up because we're talking about things they need to just clean up ahead of the game, but I'd like to see maintained is confidence. I think this is a very confident young team right now.
They're rolling.
They're rolling, and I like to see that maintained in these final regular season games. Even from Josh Primo, with Jay Rich openly saying that Primo's starting to talk smack a little bit more on the court. Love it. That's great confidence, and they're going to need him because he's been playing a vital role in the starting lineup. For this team. Credit Popovich for not burying him. He's throwing the kid out there.
Yeah.
Jay Rich, confident. Pirtle, confident. I mean, this is a very confident team. And
Zach Collins. Look at Zach Collins. Man.
Yeah.
First career double. Guys
and
finally got his feet under him after like 2 years.
Yeah, and giving it to Joker too in that first half when Pirtle got in that foul trouble situation.
When Jakob Pirtle picked up 2 quick fouls 90 seconds into the game, I tweeted something like, it was always a long shot for the Spurs to win this game, but now like it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
And Zach Collins was like, shut up, idiot.
Yeah.
And he played really good. And obviously Jokic had like, what do you have? Like 40. He had a bunch of points. He scored a lot. Jokic had 41, right? 41 and 17. They limited him. He had 4 assists, right? Like that was the game plan. He took 35 shots. And that's something that Josh Richardson said after the game. Like, it was funny because before the game they were like, coach, with a guy like Jokic, is it more important to take away his shot or his passing? And he was like, oh gosh, I don't know. Yeah. And of course they came in with a very distinct plan.
Let him get his.
and make him beat you from 3. And the Nuggets shot 7 of 33 from 3. Spurs have gotten some luck to get them to this point. They also had some bad luck earlier in the season. How many games did the Spurs have where they were close at the end and it was either bad luck or bad luck that they made themselves that, they just didn't come out with the win? And, I really, like you said, the confidence is important. And I think that if you go into a game with no expectations, it's easier to, to come out confident regardless of what happens, right? Like this game, all of these games left, if DeJounte Murray doesn't play, the Spurs are going to go in thinking, we want to win this game. We're going to have to play hard as hell to win this game. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, that's going to be good for the guys that are on the court.
Yeah, all in all, this team is playing great. I mean, you look at the squad and you highlighted some of the numbers of the record, 7-1, in their last 8 games, taking care of business versus Portland, and then going into Denver and taking care of business. And that goes back to their mentality too, Tom. I mean, this is a team maybe early in their season. Let's just say they had a back-to-back versus Portland in the second month of the regular season, and you ask me, they got it? I'd be, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not. You fast forward to the end of the season, we saw they took care of business. That's been a big dramatic shift as the season is prolonged. They've gotten mature about that.
I mean, to be fair, the Blazers took care of business at the trade deadline and, in every game.
Right. But what I'm trying to get at is just their mentality going into games, because that was the situation early in the season. You go against the Kings, or the worst team in the league, and early in the season, you'd be like, I don't know if the Spurs can do it. You fast forward to now, and they should be able to take care of business And I like that.
Yeah.
Against a Denver team, they saw Denver struggling, offensively, and they took advantage of that, stepping on their back and breaking them for the most part. And I like seeing that. Tom, we're going to start winding down here already. Anything else you want to see cleaned up, in these last few games before that play-in game one?
I think communication on court is key. Communication is key for all things. But it takes time, like everything. And like the rest of the chemistry for this team, I think it's pretty clearly coming along. The confidence and sort of the change in expectations for this team where, you know, you expect them to make a run. You expect them to hold a run off almost. Even if you're holding a breath, like, you're you're breathing a sigh of relief at the end and saying, "Huh, okay. They weren't doing that before."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think defensive communication and just continuing to boost the vibes on this team. The vibes are really good. Josh Richardson, first team all vibes. Something you cannot measure in the box score with advanced statistics. That guy is a walking good vibe. He seems like a great veteran for this locker room. I want the Spurs to soak up as much as they can from him for as long as he's here. And I want to see him ball out. I want to see Zach Collins continue. He's going to be the backup center for this team, which has been a weak point all year. If he comes into his own here, how good can he be? Lonnie Walker. I think he's already basically set his salary for next season.
Right.
But anything can happen, if the Spurs make a dark horse run and he's, on a ridiculous heater as the sixth man, like who knows? I would love to see him at least get back into, the where he looks right physically.
Yeah.
And
that's probably one thing that we got to add to the list, cleaned up, quote unquote, is get Lonnie in rhythm again, get him going.
Get everybody healthy. Get all those nicks and scrapes taken care of.
Yeah.
And
I know Murray's been out for a few days, but wouldn't be mad if he doesn't play, maybe just one, maybe the final game, just to get him
probably
going
the best thing for the team if that's how it goes down.
Because I mean, obviously, I think you don't need numbers. I mean, he has the highest usage rate for the team this season, so getting him some rest would be good.
But yeah, the more I've thought about it, the more cool I am with whatever the universe has in store for the rest of this Spurs season and whatever they throw at us. I don't know about you, Jeff. I'm having fun.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying watching this.
I mean, I've said it too, Tom. It's been a win-win for me. I mean, was there a moment where I was starting to put my feet on Team Tank? Yeah, there was. And I was like, oh man, I don't know where this. I think it was right when they hit that last 4-game losing streak.
Yep.
Like, okay.
That's the turning point of the season. Their next win was beating the Lakers. They're 10-5 since then.
Yeah. But since that point, I was like, well, whatever. If they miss the play-in playoffs, whatever. If they make it, great. Perfect. So yeah, Spurs fans should just be sitting back and relaxing and enjoying this. But Tom, thank you again. By the way, everybody, on his day off, hopping on Locked On Spurs.
That's kind of a day off. What's a day off? Do you know?
I don't know. When it comes to maintaining the Spurs section on Ken's 5, I don't know. I don't think I have days off.
I mean, I don't know when you find the time, man. But yeah,
I don't know how you do it. Like, have the time to write those long forms, but still keep San Antonio up to date on what's going on locally and nationally.
Well, that's just word vomit. The writing stuff, that's easy. I love it though, and it's very fun to do with you, my friend. Always fun to come on this show. But yeah, man, whatever happens, go Spurs, go.
Yeah. So I hit it on the head, right? The Affleck Batmobile was a half race car, half tank, right?
Yeah, that's something you could race on a track. Like, it's whereas the Dark Knight one is a tank that's built to go on the road.
Pretty much a tank.
That's a race car GT that's built to be a tank.
For those who don't know, Tom has another passion outside the Spurs, and that is you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. Racing.
Oh yeah, I love
Yeah,
cars. Love
yeah.
F1.
F1. Thank you.
Love driving fast safely. Go to a track. Get an instructor, put on a helmet. But yeah, man, cars are great. I love cars.
Hopefully, the Spurs don't run out of gas.
I think that's part of why they're here.
Yeah,
Like Lakers are like a 1981 Lamborghini Countach. Really cool, really old, not very reliable. Spurs are like a tuned Honda Civic, just like cruising on by, never ever ever breaking down.
they hit that
Uh,
nitro at the right time.
pew! Really
Took
fun little
off.
downshift noises through the desert. Yeah, give it to me.
Love it. Love it. He is Tom Petrini once again with Kens5.com. Follow him on Twitter at Real Tom Petrini. He is a great follow, especially during Spurs games. It's just pretty much every day. Give him a follow. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. As you're well aware, it is now on YouTube. And I want to thank everybody for pumping up the YouTube numbers. I got my first report back, Tom, from the Tegna people that own Locked On Network. They just said you're growing fast on YouTube. So that is good news. So we appreciate you subscribing.
Shout out to the YouTube folks.
Yeah. And you can also get this show over at kensfi.com/Spurs right now. You can check out Tom Adebayo's still salty, man. He is still salty, man. You can read that over there at kens5.com of what he had to say, but he's got to let it go, Tom.
I don't know. I think Pop loves that he's got a chip on his shoulder. So, hey, listen, I can't criticize people for things that I know I would do. And I am a petty person at heart. So, you know what? Tom Petty over here.
Tom Petty. I thought Tom Petty only no, that's Vegas Tom. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused.
That's my other friend.
Yeah, I've hung out with Vegas Tom before.
Tommy Vegas, but that's fine.
Tommy Vegas, that's it. Yeah. Cool dude.
Tommy Vegas is going back a couple weeks.
To Vegas?
Yeah, oh yeah, baby. We got those things where you go to a big hole in the desert with some construction equipment and just play around on it. Doing that.
Oh,
some wholesome family fun.
Have fun. Be safe.
Do not operate heavy machinery.
Tommy Vegas, take care of Tom Petrini, please. We just want him back in one piece.
I'm gonna have to go back though in a couple months if the Spurs get all the way to the title because I put $5 down when I was there for summer league and it'll pay $1,250.
Do it.
So listen, nobody would be happier than me if the Spurs won the title this year.
Exactly.
And maybe as happy, but not happier.
Yeah, another title and some cash in your pocket. Yeah, I think Tom Petrini and Tommy Vegas will be very, very happy with that. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Pick a platform: YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, as mentioned. YouTube, it is all there. So for Tommy Vegas, I am Jeff Garcia. We're gonna put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.